All right, guys, welcome back to Thinking Caps. I'm here with my co-host, as usual, Richard Jones, our CMO at Cheetah Digital. And today we are blessed with the presence of Adam Posner. Now, Adam is a customer loyalty specialist. He's anchored down in Australia. So I'm going to do the customary down under Thinking Caps hat switch for this particular podcast. But we're really excited because Adam really is a great specialist. He's always learning about loyalty. He helps brands and organizations navigate the waters of loyalty. So we're lucky to have him. Good day to you. Richard, what do you think? We have Adam Posner. Where do we go?
I know, it's great. Firstly, I would like to say I can't turn my cap round because if I do, I'm going to lose my sponsorship by Prana. You know, that's a 7-figure deal annually. So, Adam, thank you very much for coming on the show. I was actually checking up on your bio and doing my homework, and you've authored a book on loyalty. We'll come to that a little bit later, but I was particularly piqued. My interest was piqued by your bio when you were talking about kind of how long you've been in loyalty and how it started. And it says, 25 years ago, you started your loyalty life in the mid-90s with a shopping centre loyalty program initiative called Scratch and Save. And I thought, what a great way to kick off. Tell us about that.
Yeah, hi Richard, hi Tim. Thanks for inviting me on today. I'm super excited. I'm actually going to go back a few years before that, Richard, and tell you a little story about how my life of loyalty really began in the early 80s in the South African Air Force. And so there I was in national service, and it was a different kind of loyalty in those days. It was actually a forced loyalty. Right. You had no choice. You had no choice but to follow the rules. And that got me into a fast forward into a life of trying to understand what loyalty actually is. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's move straight into to answer your question around Scratch and Save. And that all started with me walking the streets in the shopping centers, trying to get small businesses to join to a co-op of it was a little card with 25 little advertising spaces on it. It was actually analog in those days, you can imagine. And I would sell the little space, and on the front of the card were 20 hidden discounts behind a little scratch-off element. And once we had got all the small businesses in the shopping center to post their ads on the back of the card, we would distribute that into 10,000 households around the shopping centers. And people would come in and then scratch off, go to the store, scratch off one of the little elements, and pop, there was a discount. And they were all randomly generated in behind there. So there was a little bit of science behind it. But it was a fantastic way to great engagement for locals to come to their businesses and get a saving. And that's how this whole data-driven loyalty story began.
It's really interesting. I mean, you said that was 25 years ago, and we recently did a few campaigns with Shell Retail that were trying to figure out the footfall that was coming into their outlets, and to basically A, stimulate them to make a higher level of purchase, but B, also get them into their marketing database and start to ask questions so they can learn more about who they are and better personalize their services. And that was actually a scratch and win experience on little cards that people were given, and then there was a kind of QR code to go off to a digital experience to redeem and stuff. So 25 years, but still a popular strategy in many quarters.
Yeah, we just didn't have QR codes or real mobiles to do anything like that. And it's funny, I'll just segue into what you just said about capturing data, and that actually was the beginning of my life in data marketing, because all the businesses had these customers coming in and scratching, but they didn't know who they were. So on a piece of paper, they'd write their little name down, then they'd start collecting, and then they put it into a spreadsheet. And that was the beginning of direct marketing.
It's funny because we had Peter McCormick. He was the co-founder of Exact Target,
yes.
And he's the current chairman of Cheetah Digital. And he was talking about kind of like his experience of direct marketing and the books that he basically with the background to why they founded Exact Target. And big part of that was reading a book on database marketing and starting to think about that. And so, as they found Exact Target, they were obviously trying to help all these small businesses build their database. And he was telling a story about how when they started, he was belying his age because one of the tips they used to give people was to put that fishbowl on the counter for people's business cards.
Yes, exactly.
We just passed a landmark with our biggest ever month in terms of converting people on these interactive campaigns and getting them into the database. And so we're now able to do it at a scale of hundreds of millions of people through these digital experiences. So no more fishbowls.
So, all right, you guys have talked about the past. It started in your world and scratch and win and scratch and save and et cetera. Let's fast forward to today, right? And first off, thank you. We're all staying safe at our own homes. We're in the middle of the COVID crisis. It's April here, 2020, if you're watching in the past. But let's talk about loyalty. Like in a consumer world, what does loyalty really mean, right? Because I think there's two different paths. And we've talked to John Siegel on previous podcasts, who's head of loyalty here at Cheetah Digital. There's really the points, rewards, redemption thing. And then there's a whole other animal of emotional loyalty and emotional connection. Adam, how do you view that world and what do you see working well and what's your typical go-to strategy across those, two dynamics?
Well, I think you've hit the real point in that question, in that I start off from the basis of what is loyalty in a consumer setting, like you've just asked, because I get in front of brands and businesses and they say to me, we need a loyalty program. And I say, okay, well, what is loyalty? Loyalty is not a program. So we first got to take a step back and say, well, let's define what loyalty means in a consumer setting. And I've been doing a study for the last 11 studies the last 7 years here in Australia and New Zealand the study is called For Love or Money, which is an independent research study of Australian consumers trying to understand their attitudes and beliefs to loyalty and loyalty programs. So the For Love or Money study continues to benchmark consumers' attitudes and beliefs and programs. And we've actually defined loyalty, asking consumers 11 dimensions of loyalty. And fast forward into what the definition is of loyalty from these studies of what consumers have told us. And the question we ask them is, beyond enrolling in a loyalty program, what does loyalty mean to you when you interact with a brand or business? And amongst these 11 dimensions, we've now defined loyalty as two critical pieces of the puzzle that intersect. We have belief loyalty and we have behavior loyalty. And if you looked at them on a grid, so behavior loyalty is the transactional connection. That is the buying more and buying more often, the frequency and the value. So that is I call the behavior loyalty. And the belief loyalty, Tim, you mentioned it, was what I call the attitude, the emotional connection. So we have a transactional connection, we have an emotional connection. And so behavior and belief, you put them together and you have true loyalty. So as an example, I love Apple and I'm declaring my love. And now I'm telling you how much I love it and I'm recommending it to you. So I'm high on the belief loyalty, but I definitely don't buy every single one of their products and I don't upgrade every single time. So if they looked at my behavior, I most probably wouldn't be high on behavior, but am I loyal? Yes, from a belief point of view, I am. Maybe not so much from a behavior point of view. And so they can work with me to drive or change that behavior. And that's when programs come in. When you understand what loyalty is, then you have the power to know how to actually execute to achieve that outcome.
That's really interesting. And it's interesting that you chose Apple as the example there. I am with you. I have multiple machines. I don't update all the time. And what's going on with their Apple, the in-ear pods, the iPods Pro, and the reduction of noise and everything that's blowing up on them right now. It'd be interesting how they're using their loyalty program or loyalty strategy to kind of fix that problem.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so we just had I had a loyalty John Siegel on a podcast, and he was talking about how quite a lot of loyalty programs that he sees out in the marketplace when he first gets brought in to chat to a client, he doesn't think actually engender loyalty. They engender behavior for points for purchases, but they don't actually engender loyalty. And so he was talking about how really thinking through what are the components of that loyalty, program that actually do engender true loyalty, emotional loyalty, and advocacy, because that's also important.
That's, you see, the question I was, sorry to interrupt you, but it's actually correct, Richard, is that if I was chatting to John and he was saying they don't engender true loyalty, I'd say, well, what is loyalty?
Right.
Because people use this word, but you've got to define it. Is it advocacy, recommendation, trust? What is it? What is it? And then when you're talking about it, what you're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when I actually think about the loyalty programs that I'm a part of, why am I a part of them? And actually, does it signify true emotional loyalty to the brand, or is it actually stimulating a certain behavior? And, I was kind of thinking through various different programs I'm in, and they actually fall in very different categories. So, at the top level, you could take, something like, there's a jeans brand that I love, Swedish company, Nudie Jeans. Oh, yes. And I wear, I'm so invested in that brand. Like, I love their products. I absolutely adore them. I wear them every day. I couldn't possibly imagine buying them cheaper on Amazon over actually buying them in a more premium fashion, buying the latest stuff on their website, participating in that brand experience, which is so much more of an interesting experience on their website than it is in Amazon. It kind of feels dirty in Amazon. And then when you get the product, the way it's wrapped and all the rest of it. And so I fully participate in that brand experience. And then on the other hand, you can see something like, Starbucks loyalty program, where I'm a big Starbucks user, but it's really convenience, which is driving me there with the social app. Yeah, they are the little perks of, make sure you buy this and you can, which maybe impacts my behavior, but I'm not so much loyal to them in the same way as I am Nudie Jeans. And so there is this, you can really start to break down what your participation is and whether it is true loyalty or is it some sort of behavioral addiction that you might have through gamification or whatever it may be.
No, you're actually two brilliant examples you gave there. And again, in our study, we asked consumers, why do you join a loyalty program by definition? And there's three reasons that they join a program. One is called what we call convenience loyalty, which is I shop there anyway, I might as well be rewarded. Number two, we call transactional loyalty, which is actually the loyalty program's benefits. So the stars, the collection, the points, the actual rewards and benefits. I call it transactional, but it's actually the structure, the proposition of the program. And three is the emotional loyalty. The reason why I joined the program is because I love the brand. So convenience, transactional, and emotional are the three reasons why people join programs, loyalty programs. And we've now quantified the percentage of consumers in our study who join programs across those three reasons.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you why it's so powerful. Because when we go to a brand and say you want a program, that's fine, you will know that X percent, and we've identified about 45% of consumers join programs for convenience. I shop there anyway, I might as well be rewarded. So you say to a financial CFO or a head of loyalty at a brand, just be aware that 40% of the people joining your program shop at you anyway. So you're giving them something even though they're shopping at you anyway. And it's good for financial modeling. So it's very powerful.
That's interesting. We recently had a stat in our global study that we just released that on average in the US, I know 34% of consumers continue to buy from a brand and are pretty much loyal to a brand, but they've never been asked to be loyal formally. So they're already buying, but they don't have any perks. They don't have a connection. They're not sharing data. They just happen to transact with a brand left and right. And, we see that as money left on the table. Not having a loyalty strategy of some sort is just letting these people into the wind and drift between brands if they get lured the other way. Interesting point.
I actually thought about, I was trying to think recently about where loyalty has gone wrong in my own personal experience. And it's quite funny because, well, funny, but quite tragic in many ways. But I was very loyal to British Airways, for a very long time. Got kind of, the decent status and all the rest of it. And then I decided to do a startup, and anyone that's done a startup knows you've financially ruined for years while you're paying everybody else and not yourself and all the rest of it. So, when I wasn't traveling as much because you're building software and the rest of it. So the tier my status goes down. And then when you do start to travel again, you're looking for obviously budget options. And it was quite interesting because having been so loyal to British Airways, just the thought of like how much effort it was going to take me to get back to the tier status that I had was almost a disincentive to engage. And I ended up, getting into loyalty programs with airlines that I hadn't actually engaged with before, which made me think about the flexibility of these programs and being able to perhaps, adjust tiers and spot people that maybe are going to come back. Once they took a 2-year out, they were going to come back and travel a lot, which I do right now. I'd be a catch for British Airways again. Whereas I wasn't for a period of time. So it did sort of make me think flexibility is kind of a key thing for programs.
Yeah.
So let me turn that into a question here. Because Adam, you really help brands and organizations navigate these waters. Try to understand, what is loyalty? Let's come to a common definition so that we're not just looking to check a box and take something off a shelf. And you've seen obviously a lot of solutions. You've worked with our solution. You work with other solutions. If somebody's on the fence right now and they're not quite sure where to even start, what really are the keys there? I mean, how do you get somebody through that? Do you have to get them to say, hey, look, loyalty is an attitude. Loyalty is a mantra, so to speak, from a brand perspective. So maybe you don't want to just take an off-the-shelf app and put your logo on it and have the same exact features someone else does and spit out the same points as the same other brand in your same vertical. How custom are these, and how easy is it to get your clients to think custom and think unique, experiences to their brand?
Yeah, I think you're starting me down a route which is all about, once we know what loyalty is, then the question we ask is, do you really need a loyalty program to achieve that outcome? So let's say yes, then we have to define the goals. So I haven't even got to talking about apps or structure or points. I'm about strategy before structure. So first, define loyalty. Then decide whether you really need a program. What are your goals and objective? Is it retention? Is it acquisition, although that's not a big part of loyalty? Retention, growth, incremental lift. Is it data? I mean, a lot of people say we need a program, Richard, to your point earlier on, because we actually don't get the data. So the actual fundamental reason underneath it is the organization to have the data. So once we define our goals, then and objectives and measures of success, we then say, well, who's the program for? So I haven't even discussed the program yet. I'm saying, well, what's your customer base? Who are they? What's the generations? What are the demographics? What are their pain points? What do they really want from your brand and business in terms of a program? And then we get into the structure. So what kind of program is it? Is there high frequency points based? Is it no points program, but a package of benefits? Is it discount? Is it cashback? Is it tiers? Is it surprise and delight elements? Is a whole range of, that's where the juicy parts happen, is the actual program structure, because it's got to suit an objective to change a behavior. And then we get into the experience and the execution.
It's clear to me, not being a loyalty expert, I have a lot on my phone and I have a lot of brands that I'm in tune with, but it's clear to me that people like you to help navigate the waters are a very good thing when getting into the loyalty bucket.
Thank you. It's such a complex subject, and in many ways, loyalty can butt heads with other aspects of marketing, and how do you kind of flesh this all out into real strategy? And I commend you for doing what you didn't want to do, but what you do with customers. But this is a podcast, and I'm going to have to throw you a very difficult curveball question here, which is probably very hard to answer, given the nature of how different loyalty programs are, different customers are. But if there was one thing that a loyalty program manager could do to future-proof their programs, what would that one thing be?
Only one?
Only one.
I think the only, if I had to choose only one thing, I would push it back, and it's a big one thing, is that they need to find a problem to solve. They need to find a real pain point and a problem to solve for their customer within the program. And let me give you some examples so you understand what I'm saying. So most programs are built under what we call recognition and reward. Here's points, here's perks, here's benefits, here's whatever it is for some behavior. But what problem are they solving in my life in terms of the program? And if you can find a problem and a pain point, your program will last much longer than continuously finding ways for points and perks to work. And so as an example, in Australia, there's a superannuation company. You know what superannuation is?
Yes.
People in some, and they found that the problem with their members was they weren't saving enough into their superannuation. And it was a heavy female-based fund with a lot of female members, young shop assistants and so on. And what they came up with was a loyalty program, a rewards and recognition program that when they shopped, instead of taking their cashback savings from the program into their pocket, the cashback savings went into their superannuation. So they solved the problem of no super for their life with a loyalty program. So the incentive when you're shopping is that the rewards you're getting is for the better of your future life. Now, there's a whole psychology behind that, and there's a whole range of things, but they solved a problem. Another brilliant example, and again, it's great for retail in Australia, which I think solves a problem, is you go shopping, you buy your jeans, let's say, and you spend $200. And on the Monday, you get an email from Nudie saying, hey, those jeans you bought, by the way, they're now at 150. Do you feel good about that? You must probably feel a bit pissed off. Can we swear on a podcast?
Yeah, well, of course you can. You're from Australia. You can do anything you want.
You'd feel a bit pissed off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you've just paid and now it's gone on sale. Yeah. And so what this retail group did was they made a promise in their loyalty program that said, when you join our program and whatever you buy, we promise and guarantee you that if that item goes on sale within 2 weeks after you've bought it, we will credit back the difference to your account. It solved a problem of trust and never worrying about something going on sale.
Wow.
And a brilliant, brilliant program because, I mean, there's a lot of factors behind trusting the brand and trusting the technology, and it's very tech-driven. Clearly, the data's got to work and all of that. But brilliant because it solved the problem.
Well, you struck another chord with me on your previous example about, putting money into funds. I have my Bank of America card rounds up. Every single purchase transaction I have rounds up and goes into my kids' 529 school fund here in America. So nonprofit or a protection investment. So yeah, it's amazing what you can do these days. Let me ask you this, because our audience are brand marketers and people struggling with loyalty or thinking about getting into it, not knowing where to shop or what to do or where to even start. How do you Where do you tell your businesses and partners to put loyalty? Is it an expense? Is it an investment? What is it? And where does it sit in the business function?
Well, if I go into a business that's got a program, the one question I ask is, how do they account for the return on investment on loyalty? And when I hear them, and I've had that in the past, we don't look at the revenue. We only put it as a cost item. I know that I'm an uphill battle for the belief and the commitment to loyalty. So I talk about and show businesses and brands how you can build an asset. Our loyalty program is an asset to your business. And the 7 key areas I explain as to why it's an asset are, number one, you get to know who your customer is. You literally know that it's Richard and Tim and you know where you live. They've joined, you got the data. Number 2, you control that asset. Now, what I mean by that is if you believe in social media, and many brands do, and that's fine, but social media is the landlord and you are the tenant. You're always renting their space. They can change the algorithm all the time. When you've got a data set that you don't own the customer, so don't get me wrong, but you own the asset. You've got the exchange. You've got the control of the asset. So you control the communication. So we've got know, own, and control are fundamental reasons for having a program. Then we've got the A, which is acquisition. A program does acquire customers. You know, you walk past, would you like to join this program? I've never shopped with you. You can acquire customers. A program is a relationship management tool. You have relationships. You have a dialogue. You've got the data. You communicate offers. It's what you guys at Cheetah Digital do with your LMS. You communicate. So it's a relational tool. And then at the top one, number 6, it's a revenue generator, but it's got to be incremental revenue. Otherwise, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You've got to make sure you get a lift in that revenue. So I gave you 6 reasons why it's an asset. And the 7th reason is it's a referral generator. So, if you get a great surprise in a life, or you redeem and you have a brilliant experience, guess what? You'll tell someone, and you'll tell many people. So those are the 7 reasons why a loyalty program is an asset to a business.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, the context of, we're kind of looking at things right now thinking, obviously, what's going to happen in the post-COVID-19 crisis as people start to plan for recovery and start to pick up marketing and advertising, et cetera, again. And one of the things that really strikes me is important is, COVID-19 didn't happen in some sort of vacuum of time. It happened in a period where we were seeing significant consumer backlash against marketing and advertising for the way they had been using consumer data, the way they'd been collecting it, the way they'd been reselling it, the way they were using it to power marketing and advertising. And our research that we commissioned from eConsultancy was very clear on this. I mean, it came through like absolutely, in your face in terms of consumer responses across 6 different markets globally. About 40% of people, across the various different markets, slightly less than that in some places, but, at that kind of volume, 40%, slightly more in some places, slightly less than others, were saying they were actually turned off brands because of personalized advertising. Yeah. The types of thing that Facebook in particular and Google and others have been pushing, and we've been living in that era for the last 10 years. Came through loud and clear. It also came through that majority of people, 2/3, have been taking big steps in terms of protecting their privacy. In terms of and literally you couldn't find people that were supportive of third-party tracking cookies, right? And so that happened leading up to COVID-19. COVID-19 then digitizes everything because we all have to live online. That's going to change some behaviors. But as we come out of that, I kind of think of this and I think, well, what's going to happen now? If I looked at that research and I was running a big B2C brand, would I be piling all my cash into personalized advertising, which I know turns off 40% of the people that see them as a way to kickstart recovery? Or do I actually think about getting a much closer relationship with the customers that I have and trying to stimulate more purchase, as well as recruiting others into a direct brand to consumer relationship, which I do have control over? It's going to be fascinating to see who takes what strategy and how they prioritize things coming out of this crisis.
Yeah, and look, and I know you've had all different sessions on the crisis, but just quickly, I published a post on LinkedIn recently, and I know some of your team participated, but I've called out to the loyalty community around the world. I said, give me 119 customer loyalty ideas to beat COVID-19, and I chose 100 over 19 specifically because I wanted to beat 19 by 100, and I got from 63. Loyalty professionals around the world to contribute to their ideas. And we've got 119 ideas in 10 days or so. And I've just published and given back to the community and to the world that report. And it's full of great insights from loyalty professionals around the world on how we'll beat this challenge that we're all facing and come out the other side. But I just want to highlight one key area that came out so often, and I've got a separate section, which is the community piece, which is so many brands and businesses need to start being what I call less selfish and more selfless. And that came through a lot. And anyway, we could go on for that for hours, but I just wanted to share that based on what you said around community.
Yeah, people can find that from your website. Can check out those.
Yeah,
ideas.
That's available. It's all in links all over LinkedIn through my name, but also free. It's a free report. It's there to download, and the guys, even your whole team. A lot of them have got a copy.
Well, listen, we are just over 30 minutes in, and I have to note, we wear hats on this show. I turn mine upside down for, Australia for you.
Yeah.
Do you wear a hat, Adam? Do you wear anything that
I
gives
was
you
thinking about
inspiration,
that.
gets you thinking?
I have got a hat, but I've got better than a hat. What I've got is, and just give me a second.
Take your time. I can't wait to see it. I want to know what inspires Adam. Whoa.
This is my hat, except it's called a jacket. So this is my loyalty. This is my loyalty jacket when I go shopping, and I go and join all my loyalty programs. I just say, well, which program would you like me to hand over? So no hat for me, but my jacket is where I go every day shopping with my loyalty program.
Well,
wow.
I love that. I love that. I think I'm going to make myself one. I'm a member of enough loyalty programs, so I probably could.
Wow. Well, that is impressive, and probably tough to get onto an airplane. Richard, let's close it out here. We're going to have Adam back. Obviously, he's full of good news, good information, great strategist here. You have a closing question for him? Otherwise, I do.
Yeah, it's more just obviously, a lot of the cheater ecosystem are either implementing loyalty programs, have implemented loyalty programs, or are thinking about loyalty programs and implementing them and looking for research. And I know that you authored a book, Give Back to Get Back, 9 Steps to a Profitable Loyalty Program. Maybe you could just wrap up by giving us a little bit of information about that book and who should read it and where they can get it.
Yeah, this is the book. It's called Give Back to Get Back. But in reality, it's not a book. In fact, it's free now. I don't sell it. You can download it again. It's an ebook that I just downloaded from my website. But I wrote this book as a business card, would you believe, in 2011 or 13, I can't remember. 2011, so 9 years ago. And after starting 113 loyalty programs, hence my jacket, I wrote a book on how to build, but I actually used it as a business card when I met clients, not to actually put through Amazon or sell it. So it's free on the website as well.
There you go. Well, we'll make sure we include the link for everybody in the underneath the podcast, so folks can go and get that and read it at their leisure.
Pleasure.
Well, look, this has been great. We appreciate you making the time. It's the end of our day, the beginning of yours. We hope you have a great day. We hope you're staying safe. You're washing your hands. We'll get through this together. And we were going to have you back for sure. So again, everybody, thanks for watching. And you can check out all of our podcasts on Apple iTunes under Thinking Caps. And we'll have Adam back soon. Good talking to you.
Thank you.